Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is a new look for us here, some new software. We hope you are joining us live tonight. It is the Real Football Fans of New Jersey. It is our 124th episode.
Holy cow, holy cow.
You guys here. We are doing this remote tonight, but we're sitting a little bit closer to our laptop. So if you want to ask us questions, we don't have to get like real close and squinty. We will be able to see them a little bit better. So anything that you want to send at any point, if you are watching live through Facebook, through YouTube, shoot us over some questions. We will be happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, we can even put them on screen, showcase your questions.
Yes. Just want to give you guys a little heads up. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties last week when we were recording last week's show. The audio and the visuals, the video was not working, and therefore we have the lost episode 123. It's the lost files of the Real Football Fans of New Jersey.
That's like, what is that one joke? It's like, we don't talk about that period in time. We don't talk about episode 123.
Episode 123, it's kind of lost forever, but we did give AFC West record predictions. Mm-hmm. We also played a game that had to do with fantasy football. Yeah. So we're definitely going to, at least not in the video sense, but we want to get you that content and what we picked and what we said. Because certainly we want to, if you're a fan of anybody in the AFC West, we want to let you know what we think of your team. And also we want to help you guys in fantasy football this year. So we will definitely get you that content at some point on Twitter, on Instagram, all our platforms to let you know what we picked and what we said.
All the socials. But yes, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. And I just heads up, Katie bought me the infamous Vanderpump Rosé. So again, when you guys didn't think football and housewives could cross over, I'm drinking Lisa Vanderpump wine in a New York Giants glass.
What a mashup, baby. What a mashup.
And I have to say, it's absolutely delicious. You all know I'm a white wine girl. I'm a Chardonnay girl, but I do like a rosé. I do. This one's very good. It's dry. I'm into it.
Listen, summertime is always a nice time for rosé.
And it's beautiful out. I have all my windows open in my house right now. Beautiful day. Beautiful day to have some wine and some talk, some football and housewives. So let's get into it.
Absolutely. So speaking of questions, and again, ask at any point if you want to, because we'll still answer them as we're going live. But we did ask you through our platforms before the show today, to give us questions, whatever you're thinking, housewives, football, life. And we have 4 good ones here. So let's start off with our first one. It is football. It is fantasy football related. So good, more fantasy football talk. Question number 1, if you had to pick one running back for New England for fantasy football purposes, who are you picking?
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question?
Yes. If you had to pick one running back for New England for fantasy football purposes, who are you picking?
Yeah, so it's so funny because even now with Brady not with the New England Patriots, you got to look at their offense and be like, what do you have? What do you have there? Because he turned, I don't know, nothing into gold. Like him and Bill Belichick turned literally Walmart cashiers into all-star players. So when you really have to look at this is such a good question because you actually really have to look, who does this team actually have on offense? Who actually are their, running backs? So their running backs, their 1-2 punch is actually James White and Sony Michel. So, but after looking at the 2 of them, they've got actually a decent amount of running backs. I think there was 6 or 7 in their depth chart, but things are going to change over the next couple of weeks for sure. But at the end of the day, I'm just based off of last year. I'm just going to go with Sony Michel on this one. More carries, more yards, touchdowns, everything. So I'm just going to take a safe bet there. I don't want a Patriots running back on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
I had to pick. He's your number 1 guy, so I'm just going to go statistically him.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Sony Michel as well. But I think there's a breakdown in this question of whether or not you play in a PPR league or whether you're in a non-PPR league. I think PPR leagues where you get more points, the more touches they have. People might be more attracted to taking James White because he is, although I don't think he's as good of a running back. I think he had more receiving yards last year. But the fact that he can do both, whereas Sony Michel like barely had any catches last season, you might be attracted to take James White in a PPR league. However, overall, I am going to take Sony Michel. He has more touchdowns. He has more rushing yards. But I think this is an interesting question too, because I will just say I don't like taking any fantasy football running backs that are a true 1-2 punch. I would rather have maybe somebody who's not as good as James White and Sony Michel if I knew that they were getting, 75, 80% of the carries. I don't want anybody that's splitting touches 50-50.
And 100% going into 2020, they're definitely going to be splitting it. And/or a guy else in the depth chart might come up there because you never know with New England.
Yeah. All right. Question number 2. This is a mashup question. I like it a lot. Which football player and housewife could you see together?
Oh, together like romantically?
Linking up.
So it's definitely an interesting question. And I feel like when you ask it, you're like, oh, you could think of so many people. But then like when you really think down, you're like, crap, this is kind of a hard question. Yeah. I'm thinking more of like I don't know if they would mesh, but it actually is funny because now this lady is with a Boston guy and this guy originates from the Boston area. So I'm going to go with Bethany Frankel and Tom Brady. So
keeping it in Boston.
They are both if you want to just think of the word franchise, they're individual franchises for themselves. People consider Tom Brady the GOAT of the NFL. I can consider Bethany one of the GOATs of the Housewives, any franchise. So thinking, linking the two gods of these worlds together, and I think that makes sense. But playing kind of like a little more fun and playful with it, let's look at a girl like Leah. She's young for the Housewives, but let's hook her up with a young football player like a Nick Bosa or something like that. Let's see how fun she has with a younger guy like that. So. All
right. I definitely went a little bit more serious with it. So I did pair Leah up with somebody because if you think about it, a lot of these women are well into their 40s, 50s. Yeah. Some of them are even in their 60s, Ramona Singer. So I was like, okay, realistically, we could pair up Leah. She's still in her 30s, but then I also was like, okay, I don't want to pair her with a 20-something-year-old football player. Let's get somebody who's a little bit older too, in their 30s as well. And this guy is not single. He's not on the market. But I feel like Leah would need somebody who was fun, but also like when somebody's very fun and outgoing, sometimes they can maybe be a little douchey. I would need someone who I knew was like a good guy, but also really fun and would like be playful with Leah. So I paired her up with JJ Watt.
Okay.
And I think they would be cute together. I think they would look good together. The blonde hair, the blue eyes. Yes. Make some cute little bebes.
Well, apparently Leah is off the market now too. So.
No, she's not. Nope.
I saw a beach pic.
Nope. She posted that. People were freaking out that it was her boyfriend, and she had to go back and say,
"Oh no,
he's just my friend."
Oh, see, I didn't see that follow-up post, but obviously JJ is seriously taken. So, but
he's married now. But
I do see that. Yeah, that is cute. I think that's a cute couple for sure, and they would definitely mesh well together.
Question number 3: how long do you think the NFL season will last? Do you think COVID will derail it?
So this is such a loaded question. So I think the NFL will complete the season end to end. Maybe we might have a setback where we have to delay or maybe cancel or postpone a game or two, but I think the season will be its full 16-game season, including playoffs. Where I think that things get a little interesting, and I've mentioned this on the show before, and I've given this advice to some people from like a fantasy perspective. Teams really need to understand their depth charts. They need to understand their quarterback position, their kicker positions, because people can fall down in those unique areas where maybe in the past you've only kept 2 quarterbacks, you've only had 1 kicker, you've only things like that. That's not how this isn't a normal season. You can't really do that, nor can you have your starting quarterback and your backup quarterback hanging out together, bunking together, working together. Because if one goes down and you are around number 2, That's a liability. So your 1s and 3s are working together. Your 2s and 4s are working together. So it's going to be interesting from that angle. I don't think the season's going to end or halt at any time. I think there might be a delay from the September 10th start date. And it's the 10th, right? No. Yeah. Okay. Or, you know, maybe like something might happen mid-season where we're going to cancel the Raiders against the other team because something happened here, but we're going to postpone it, things like that. So I know that was kind of a lengthy answer, but that's where I see it.
I think we're good to go for week 1. I think we will mainly be good to go because of the fact these rosters are so big. It's not like a basketball team. You could potentially wipe out your whole team, right?
Exactly.
You might wipe out a chunk of your players, but there's still a whole entire practice squad. There's still so many free agents, so many rookies that weren't drafted that are still waiting to get a call. I just don't think that it's going to be an issue in that sense. So short answer, I think for the most part, I hope and think things will be okay. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. And our last question, this is a football one. Do you think Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, and Phillip Rivers will all retire after this season?
Ooh, another good question.
Yeah, we're like getting to the end of a lot of these veteran quarterbacks' careers.
So I'm going to say that I'm going to say that Ben Roethlisberger and Phillip Rivers are done. This is their final season. I don't think it's the end for Drew Brees, especially if the Saints don't win a Super Bowl.
If he does win a Super Bowl,
he's done.
The end.
He's done, but I also get concerned that they're gonna, not that they've like choked the past couple of seasons, they've just like they've just been in bad situations. So I just don't necessarily know if I want to fully commit to them yet. So that's where my head is at there. I also think he has a lot more years compared to Big Ben.
I think so too.
But I do think it is the end for Big Ben and Phillip Rivers.
Drew Brees, he could still play. I think the way Tom Brady wants to play till he's 50 years old. I think Drew Brees could do the same. But these guys also have young kids. They have families. And maybe they just feel like, okay, you know, I've had a great career and now I'm going to enjoy family time. I do actually think that all 3 of these guys will retire after the season. And I know that's pretty crazy, but
just think of an NFL without the 3 of them.
It's wild, but
it's wild.
Rivers and Brees, they both signed 1-year contracts. Brees almost and Sean Payton, I feel like at one point I remember them both being a little bit vocal about like this would be the last year probably for Drew. Yeah. And they've really got to push for that Super Bowl. But I think even if they don't get it and they could still contend the following year, I think this is it for all 3.
If it really was Drew Brees' final season, though, and he really felt that, I think they would have pushed a little bit harder to keep Teddy Bridgewater on the team. I don't know. That's my hot take.
I don't think Teddy Bridgewater has anything to do with it. I mean, he was nice to have because Brees got hurt. But if Brees is playing, then they don't need Teddy for anything.
But that's what I'm saying. If he did so well when he was hurt, why wouldn't you fight to keep him a little bit more if you know this is probably going to be Drew Brees' last season?
Oh, I mean, well, they still have Taysom Hill. You can't forget that. They still have they brought in Jameis Winston. Like, I know you love Teddy Bridgewater, but some people would argue that they'd rather have one of those guys.
Yeah.
So I think they're in a fine situation. I don't think Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, or Taysom Hill would be a long-term answer for them.
Right.
But if Drew Brees left, you can have one of those guys for a season and then figure out what you want to do.
That's fair.
All right. So those were great questions. And again, we are live. So anything you want to ask during?
Ask us anything. Put us on the hot seat. Just kidding. Don't put us on the hot seat for anything that I can't handle. Sweating already. Sweating just thinking about the questions that can come in. So speaking of sweating, let's get into some hot topics here. So we're going to do some quick NFL hot topics for you this week. So this is hot. This one is coming in hot. Our first one here. So on Sunday, Baltimore released Pro Bowl safety Earl Thomas. So this comes after a fight that he had with a teammate at practice on Friday. I remember sending Katie the Instagram article on it that, it was that bad that he had to be sent home.
Right.
But then it, furthered the story in that he was cut for conduct that was detrimental to the team and the organization. So now they're trying to get together the $10 million he was set to make this season. So there's a lot going on right now. Obviously, he was cut, and there was a lot of rumors going around, like what happened, everything like that, trying to dig into that. But that didn't steer away from the rumors of people chirping in, like, oh, who's going to go after him, things like that. So immediately off the board, the Dallas Cowboys were like the number one team. Like, they're going after him. There's no question there. We now are sitting here today on Wednesday night, and they are no longer in running. No one is talking about them. There's no more interest there.
Right.
Listen, there could have never been interest. People just like to stir things up. Right. But as of last night, I believe, or I'm not sure, but Adam Schefter did tweet out that the Cleveland Browns are, that interest is very high there. So they are now, if the Cowboys are out of it, they're technically like the leading team that is interested in him, which makes no sense. Which makes so much sense because the Cleveland Browns just love picking up misfits. And if you're going to get released from your team from something that was detrimental to your organization, the Browns, they'll pick you right up.
Absolutely. And the Dallas Cowboys do the same, which is why I'm not surprised they were first rumored, Yeah. But Earl Thomas, like when Caitlin sent me that he had gotten in the fight at practice, the first thing I thought of was like, oh yeah, like I sort of forgot he's a little bit of a hothead, and my mind flashed back to when he was playing for the Seahawks and he gave his own coach the middle finger during the middle of a game. So I'm like,
classic.
Yeah, that's Earl Thomas, man. He's a great player, but you have to. There's so many phenomenal players in the league that we are constantly talking about on this show, saying, I don't know if I would want him on my team or in my locker room. He is detrimental to the team. So we will see what happens. But I'm going to say that by the time we're with you guys next week,
we'll know where
I'll have to move home. Yep.
Yeah, I just truly wonder like what happened, because I read Michael Strahan's book where he just talks about like football Sundays and everything like that. And he talks about a story where he literally took his helmet off and literally like almost like killed a guy. And it was, they obviously had to be separated and like had to be spoken to and things like that. But like maybe it's because it's 2020 and people
if you watch HBO Hard Knocks, season after season, every single season you see a fight. It's not uncommon, but we don't know what this fight entailed. We don't know what was said. We don't know any of the details on it. So whatever.
And listen, Baltimore's on a high too, so their organization might just be taking little things. I'm sorry, I don't want to call this a little thing. Like backtrack. They might be taking everything super seriously because the Ravens are now pretty much like they are on this high, and they're
trying to win a Super Bowl. And anything they think that could be get in their path from doing that, they're gonna
That's that Tom Coughlin mentality that I love right there.
Yeah.
All right, so
this ties into the second story with Cleveland being interested in him. So,
wait, I gotta pull something up. Okay, on my phone because I gotta read something else too. So on Monday, Cleveland Browns safety Grant Delpit. I probably pronounced it incorrectly. So sorry.
No, you got it.
Yes. Hell yeah! Look at me now. Who's keeping score? Who's been listening to 124 of our episodes and counted how many times?
It could be a drinking game.
It could. I'm awful with names, and I apologize. So unfortunately, though, he has suffered a torn Achilles, which, oh my God, every time I hear that, I want to cringe during practice, and will miss all of his rookie season. So there you go. That safety position is, calling in a veteran makes sense for the Browns here, no matter really kind of what the situation is. So they did draft him 44th overall in the second round. So that is some injury news there, which is it's truly devastating. Listen, a second round safety. Landon Collins is a second round safety. Xavier McKinney is a second round.
I was going to say, who else is the second round safety? Who maybe the Giants could look at Earl Thomas too.
Listen, I don't want Earl Thomas coming to the New York Giants, but unfortunately today it has been announced that safety Xavier McKinney has suffered a foot fracture. Oh, and he's getting surgery tomorrow. But then also linebacker David Mayo has torn his meniscus in his left knee. He is also getting surgery tomorrow. They're saying 2 to 3 months for Xavier McKinney, which, that was a huge pickup for the New York Giants. Obviously, one of my Bama boys, safety, really needed to fill in that position. Luckily, we do have Julian Love. Maybe he can step up and really, I was impressed with him from his rookie season, but I wonder what he can do year two. But it really such a blow to the New York Giants defense, and I'm just shook it to my core. He can take my foot. How do you do that? How do you surgically put someone else's foot on someone else's foot?
It's unsurprising to me at this point. I feel this happens to the Giants every single season. Listen, it happens to every team. Every team loses players to injury, but I feel like every year the Giants always have a big one. And then they have a lot of them. So this doesn't.
So what? 2 to 3 months. He comes back in November. I mean, hopefully the Giants are doing decent in November. Hey, maybe he'll come back in
November. I think November might even be early. I don't know. It's not good, and I think our defense is not looking too hot. So
I'm not happy at all because we don't have cornerbacks either.
Our secondary is going to get torched. I said that to you.
Stop! Yeah. You're torching my heart.
Sorry,
baby, don't go breaking my heart. Who sings that? It's Backstreet Boys. All right. So our third hot topic for the week for the NFL year. So on Monday, again, it was announced that from August 12th to the 20th, there were over 58,000 COVID tests administered in the NFL, and zero players tested positive. The only 6 positive cases came back from other team personnel. And you did obviously see the big story earlier in the week that there was many false positives out there. So that is a good thing. I know that was very confusing, the headline. When I first read it, I was like, wait, does that mean people are? No. So false positive means it came back positive. These people are actually healthy. So as much as we don't want incorrect tests out there, listen, we've got 0 players testing positive in a great amount of time. That when I read this, that was more so, I think I've been very nervous over the past couple of weeks about the season, about everything that's happening. That statistic just shows that the NFL is doing everything, the right way. There's still, once the season starts, there's obviously a lot more factors, that come into play, but I don't know, but that's good news to me. I'm happy about it.
That's a positive. I'll take positives at this point.
All positives for everything in life.
Yes. All right. Well, those were our NFL quick hot topics, which means we are now going to get into our best worst case scenario record predictions. We have been doing this for the last 8 weeks now, 8 divisions. This is our last one. And I feel as though, in my opinion, I've said this on the show many a times, I feel as though we are ending on what I think is the best division in football right now with the NFC West. So we have an up-and-coming team like the Arizona Cardinals. We have the Los Angeles Rams, and we have 2 of the NFC's best teams in the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. So
wait. So I'm looking at my notes right now, and I screwed up something earlier. So I'm just going to go on a whim with the Rams because I screwed up and I deleted my prediction for them. So
all right.
I'm just pulling it up right now. Don't worry. I'm such a dum-dum.
Okay. Well, let's start with the Arizona Cardinals. I can actually start it then. Like I said, this is a team. They have Kyler Murray. A lot of people believe in him. It will be his sophomore season. So, you can only imagine that someone would hopefully get better, even better. My best case scenario, though, for the Arizona Cardinals, because they do play in a tough division, best case scenario, I'm going 8-8. Worst case scenario, I am going 4-12. What I feel is that they have really winnable games on their schedule. It's just going to come down to, can they win the winnable games? So I'm talking about they're playing the Redskins at home, the Detroit Lions at home. They're playing the Jets on the road. They're playing Miami at home, and they're playing the Giants on the road. Those are 5 games where you got to look at those as those are your winnables, and they just have to be W's. So that's what I have for the Cardinals.
No, I think that's a great point. And I think that there's a lot of chatter right now, with Kyler Murray, with, these, what is it, like the 3, wide receiver, combo thing like that, and getting DeAndre
Fitzgerald and DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. So getting DeAndre Hopkins is huge for the Cardinals, but can you advance on getting DeAndre Hopkins? That is the big question. So for me, I'm not 100. I almost knocked my entire wine glass on my computer.
My God.
That would have been a story to tell. That being said, though, I'm not 100% sold on it. So I'm going to give them best case scenario at 6-10, and worst case scenario, I'm agreeing with you at 4-12. But I looked at the latter half of the later half of their season, and they play the Bills, Seahawks, Patriots, and Rams back to back in 4 games. That is a tough stretch for a team like the Arizona Cardinals.
But I feel like that stretch, it could be tougher. It's not the toughest I've heard or seen. And
for the Cardinals, it's tough.
Yeah, but the fact that it's coming later in the season means that Kyler Murray should be more comfortable. Hopkins should be more comfortable in that offense at that point. If that's their tough stretch, number one, I don't think it's that tough. And number two, they should be happy that it's towards the end of the season when hopefully they're gelling more, But
I do think that the beginning half of their season, it's like kind of like sprinkled in here and there, a tough game. So I don't think a team like the Cardinals can be seasoned enough to come near the end where it's 4 back-to-back tough games. So
yeah. Okay.
They probably need that like at the beginning or the middle of the season. To be
all right. Honest. All right. The Los Angeles Rams, of course, in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, fell back a little bit last season. They're kind of, I think, the question mark in this division. Are they going to go back to that Super Bowl caliber team? Are they going to struggle in a division where everybody's only getting better? What do you think? Best case, worst case?
I really don't think that they're going back to the Super Bowl caliber team. So I'm going to be, I think it's pretty generous giving them their record for last year as their best case scenario at 9-7, and the worst case scenario, I'm going to flip it to 7-9.
Okay. My best case, which I want to stress, I don't think that they are this record of a team, but best case scenario, I have 10-6, and worst case scenario, I have 6-10. So I do not think by any means, like looking at this team, I don't think they're a 10-6 team, but I do feel like they have a very easy schedule. They play the Giants, the Redskins, the Bears.
Well, that's what stood out to me the most. Yeah.
And I did make one funny note about this team. 4 of their first 5 games are against the NFC East. So they're taking on our division right off the bat. And some would argue that maybe the NFC East is the worst, maybe second to worst division in the league. So, to me, you can start off really strong at the beginning of the season. If you're the Rams, again, I don't think they're a 10-6 team, but I felt like maybe they had the easiest schedule out of the 4, and that you got to capitalize on that.
Agreed.
All right, the Seattle Seahawks, they were in all the way down to the stretch, final week in a battle with the Niners last year to see who was going to win the division and also get the number 1 seed. They did end up finishing second in the division, right behind them, but had one of the best records in the NFC. Yep. So what do you have, best case, worst case for the Seattle?
I do think it's going to be neck and neck again with them, and you'll see with both my picks for Seattle and the San Francisco 49ers. But best case scenario, I'm going to one-up them from last year and give them a 12-4 record for their best case scenario. And the worst case scenario, I'm going to go with 10-6.
Okay. Best case scenario, I'm going 13-3, and worst case scenario, I'm going 9-7. The only note that I have about the Seattle Seahawks, this is potentially my dark horse Super Bowl winner.
But I love that you call them a dark horse Super Bowl winner, because like when I was picking, like when I was doing this, the Seattle Seahawks excite me. They're an exciting team to watch. I've never had an issue with them, whatever, but I actually am very favorable of them going into the 2020 season. So maybe it's just what I saw last year and what they were kind of dealt, they had to deal with teams like the San Francisco 49ers, like the Chiefs, like the Ravens, that were just these powerhouses of teams. But the Seahawks are a powerhouse too, but they are kind of living in the shadows of these top 3 teams, which is wild to me. But I do think
dark horse.
And I think, yes, but I think it's hilarious, the team, the Seahawks being called a dark horse. I understand for the Super Bowl.
But don't forget, remember, it was only 2 seasons ago where we were on our show together being the Seahawks have kind of gone backwards.
I know.
Finally brought it back. And I just feel like your heavy hitters, your favorites right now are the Ravens, the Chiefs, the 49ers, the Saints. And people almost forget that the Seahawks were one of the best teams in the league last year.
But I like think they brought it back like powerfully. So like maybe they heard us talking about us on our show, like their ears were ringing and they were like, damn, like we can never have someone speak about us like that, like us again. Like we are the Seattle Seahawks, like never again. So like that's like more so like I loved the power and like what I saw from them last season, like coming back. So I can only see 2020 being even better for them.
And maybe this is where we're at with the Rams though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's either like, and we said it so many times on the show.
You need to turn it around or not. And,
Seattle is either going to go back to form or they're just going to continue to slide. And that's where the Rams are at right now. So,
I agree.
All right, let's end with our NFC champions from last year, the San Francisco 49ers. I know my husband is definitely in the other room right now with his ear perked up.
What did she say?
He said, yep. So yeah, again, let's give best worst case. I'll let you start it off.
So I think Frank will be pleased with me. So I am repeating last year and giving them a best case scenario of a 13-3 record. I think they're more than capable of achieving that. If not, listen, that's best case scenario. We could go above and beyond there. And then worst case scenario, I'm giving them an 11-5 record, which if that's your worst case scenario, like, come on.
That's pretty damn good. So considering how unbelievably tight these two teams battled back and forth last year for their records and everything like that, I'm going to give them a matching answer to the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going 13-3 best case, 9-7 worst case. I actually feel like I would like to give them a better worst case scenario record. But I do also want to note that I think they have the hardest schedule out of the four teams. And granted, that's going to happen when you finish first place in your division because you're going to play other first place finishers. But listen to this. They have 4 very challenging road games. This is where the Niners are going to be tested this upcoming season. At New England, which is just a question mark right now because we don't know what that team is going to look like. But then they have to go at Green Bay, at the Saints, and at the Dallas Cowboys. I think those are 4 difficult road games.
Yeah, I agree.
So that is where the Niners are going to be tested. And again, I just think it's gonna be a race to the end between them and the Seahawks again this year.
Yeah, I don't know. The Saints like road game or like playing on the road against the Saints this year is just going to be so different though because there are no fans in the stadium. So
I'm still going to say that it's probably never easy to go there.
No, absolutely not.
It's just one of those stadiums that you really don't. If you see the same
thing with Dallas. Dallas is trash most of the time, but you still travel to that stadium and you're like, shit, like this is a big deal.
And Green Bay on the road, there's certain teams that you don't want to see on your schedule, period. But then when you see that they're in a away game, you're like, shit, okay, that could be a loss on the year right there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, those were our record predictions for the NFC West. Again, I definitely think, by the way, with an addition of another wild card team, this could be the division that possibly sends 3 teams to the playoffs. So we will definitely look out for that.
Got to keep an eye out there. All right. So let's move into our big story of the week for Housewives. And this is obviously a very sad story. I'm trying not to get emotional. So Dorinda Medley is leaving the Real Housewives of New York. So it's actually quite ironic because this time last year, Katie was on her honeymoon and I had to report in real. Maybe it's ironic, but at least it didn't happen as like how Bethany happened to me last year. Like I found out like 5 minutes before I was going live.
Well, I was about to say, like, at least I'm here for you this time.
I know. And at least like we had time to like prep and kind of like understand everything. Like last year it literally happened. And I was like, oh my God, I have to tell people like opening up. And it's like, So obviously Dorinda is one of the OGs of New York, but on
OG. You always think of her as an OG.
Oh no, she's
been around a long time.
Yes. She is not an actual OG, but I'll call her one. So on Tuesday, Dorinda did announce that she is leaving the Real Housewives of New York after 6 seasons. So she did appear as a guest during season 4, but then she was made made an official cast member on season 7, which premiered in 2015. So we do have a quote from her, so I'm going to read this. So it's a pretty lengthy one. So hold on to your seats, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll drink some wine.
Yeah, drink some wine. This is from Dorinda herself. What a journey this has been. I've laughed and cried maybe, okay, and tried to make it nice. Oh, I love her. But all things must come to an end. This was a great outlet for me to heal, and my late husband, Richard, passed away. I've met so many interesting people and learned so much about myself, about life, and about women along the way. Thank you to Bravo and NBC for the incredible ride, and to my castmates for constant stimulation and entertainment. I wish you all health, happiness, and success.
Yeah.
So, very upset. But earlier this year, Dorinda admitted it was challenging watching herself back during this current season that we are in right now, that she was dealing with a lot. It was making her on edge and uptight during filming, and felt she couldn't keep doing it. So let's just walk through. Yeah, I know, as we are, and we're still witnessing it. So right. Let's just like walk through like our like initial reactions and thoughts, and then, you know, just kind of like, this is all about Dorinda. This topic is literally all about her, and we're not talking about anything else housewives. So why don't you go ahead and just kick us off, like initial reactions, thoughts?
Well, yeah, it feels like important to give this whole, you know, housewives segment here this week to Dorinda. It's a really big deal. I have said on the show, I'm sure you've all heard me say time and time again, she is my favorite housewife of all time, which is, by the way, a huge statement, because as we noted, she's not an OG. She really came during season 7, and she made that big of an impact on Roni that I feel as though from season 7 until today, like probably the 10 biggest one-liners from in that period, they're like all Dorinda.
All Dorinda.
She had super memorable moments, super memorable one-liners, things that we now say in conversation in everyday life almost on a daily basis, right?
Literally.
And I guess my main thought, especially today, right before doing the show, I had caught up on the most recent episode. And again, another difficult one to watch of Dorinda. She's been really super condescending this season. The women trying to sit her down and have serious conversations, and she kind of like makes a joke of it and kind of just like shuts them up, and it's sad. So I guess my main thought is, for somebody that I love so much, like my favorite housewife ever, I really hate seeing her go out on this note, and I wish it wasn't going to end this way, because this has been a horribly tough season for Dorinda. And I have Caitlin frozen, so I will keep talking. There are rumors out. There are some headlines out now, and I'm not sure if they're true or not, that Dorinda was actually fired. She did not make the decision to leave herself. Again, don't know if it's true or not, but the rumors are that she was fired because of, you know, her drinking and how mean she would get to the other women. Andy has come out and said that at the end of every housewife season, it's a discussion with every single woman in the cast of, oh, and Caitlin's gone, so it's just me. But Andy said that after every season, it's not just the people who are on the fence, are they coming back or are they not? He speaks to every single woman in the cast, and he basically says, you know, what do you have coming up in your life? What are the things that you're excited about? How are you feeling with the group? Is this something that you want to continue doing? And so maybe, even though the rumors are that she was potentially fired, and Caitlin's back.
I'm back.
I'm just talking about the rumors of maybe she was potentially fired. So I feel as though, and I was saying that, you know, Andy asked the women, you know, what their thoughts are on coming back after each season ends. And I feel like maybe this was a mutual decision, because I feel as though Bravo and Andy might have suggested, like, hey, you had a tough season, like you weren't really getting along with the women, like you would get drunk and you get really mean. And you know, we have a quote from Dorinda, or not a quote, but I read it in an article that Dorinda, like we said, had a tough time watching herself this season. She admits that she was on edge. She admits that she was uptight. Maybe she just got to the point where she was like, yeah, this is like an ugly look for me. And maybe Bravo and Andy have a point, and maybe like, yeah, this needs to be it. So I don't know what to believe. I would need to believe that Bravo just straight up fired her, because I feel like that would be a mistake. I feel Dorinda, even though she had a rough season,
well, that's what I'm thinking.
So much to the table.
Like, why don't you take a couple months and we'll figure it out? It's not like the show ends, the reunion happens, and you start filming the next day. So, like, if she's having issues and, like, you're identifying these issues, like, why don't you try to work on them, fix them? Don't just fire her.
And think about Bethany's situation, too, right? Like, when Bethany herself chose to leave.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to fire Bethany because she was Bethany. Like, she was the #1 star for Roni. And I just feel like even though we had really rough Bethany seasons, Bravo never fired her because it was Bethany. And I feel like it should be
going to fire Dorinda.
Like, Dorinda had a rough season, but you're never going to fire Dorinda. And it's just, I don't know. They're really shaking things up. We've said this on the show before. Absolutely no OG, no long-term cast member is safe anymore.
Well, honestly, there's literally, like, I'm like pulling on my phone right now because I want to pull up the receipts, because there is like the most wild picture. It's like a collage of people that have left. Yeah. So like, I can't, like, obviously, like, we're on live right now, but no one can see this, but you can probably see like the actual number of faces. It's literally all of the Bravo people that have quit or been fired in the past year. And it's insane how many people are getting
crazy.
Of course, like, a lot of people, like, were fired for, like, good reasons. Like, a lot of, like, the Vanderpump people, like, they should have been. But, like, a lot of, like, Housewives, below deck people, like, they're quitting. They are quitting, and or they're being fired. Like, it's, like, not okay. Like, I don't know what's going on. And it's, like, you might call it, like, shaking things up. But I actually think they're going to, like, shoot themselves in the foot. Like, it's not going to be okay.
I said to Caitlin, and I said, this is nothing against Dorinda because I'm heartbroken. I don't think that it'll be the same without her. I think there will be a giant hole missing in that franchise.
Oh, absolutely.
But one of the first things I said to Caitlin was, thank God they have Leah.
I agree. No, I do agree.
Like, honestly, Leah has been my MVP this season for Roni, and that's insane for being like a newbie, but I love her and she's so amazing. And I'm like, thank God we have her. Thank God we have Luann. I mean, obviously we still have OG and Ramona. We have long-term and Sonia.
Yeah.
Like, we have a solid foundation.
Well, yeah, I did hear before the show that the 3 of them are safe, apparently. So I know there's been like rumors swirling, but Lou, Sonia, and Ramona apparently are safe. So
that's good, because Caitlin and I also discussed the fact that if they were to lose anybody else, like, you're taking the most solid franchise, in my opinion, and destroying it.
Literally the only stable franchise, in my opinion.
Right. So, favorite Dorinda moment?
Oh, I don't know. There's too many. I'm gonna cry. There's too many. There's just like what you said. Like, what hits home the most is that, like, Bethany leaving.
You know what I just realized?
What?
That means that we're never going to get Bluestone Manor ever again.
Okay, so that was like
I just thought about that now.
The Berkshires are gone. We're not going to the Berkshires anymore.
He's got a list as an Airbnb. We're going.
We're not going to the Berkshires anymore. But I think with Bethany's departure, like, obviously, like, we were super upset and like super shook. But what you said before, like, the amount of like one-liners Dorinda has, the amount of one-liners we use in our day-to-day lives. Like, she has clearly made such a bigger impact on certain people. So, like, my favorite moments of her, just like those one-liners, like, not well, bitch. Literally, I say that every day. I've been saying that since she had that moment. Like, because it's so relatable. I'll tell you how I'm doing. Not well, B. I'm not doing well. I'm literally 99% of my life not doing well. And that's just so relatable. I just think that she's had her wild and crazy. I think she gets drunk. She goes from 0 to 100 in like 5 minutes.
You can't understand what she's saying.
But she has like 2 glasses of wine. She's turned. I'm like, Jesus, Dorinda, when did this happen? But I loved, honestly, the not well bitch. That was great.
Yeah.
I very much loved, though, too, when she did flip out in Bluestone Manor and saying that she made it nice because, you know, listen, she did bend over backwards for those ladies. You know, she did cook, she cleaned, she made it nice. So, you know, you let them know, and you'll all go home. If you you'll all go home. Yeah. I love it. So I think Julie is a good friend, though, too. And as much as it's been hard to walk for this season, I think she's one of those people, though, you could literally call from a jail cell. You could literally call with your life.
I was just going to say, Dorinda has a good heart.
Yeah.
In like at the end of it all, she's a really good person and she's a good friend. And she was just having, like all the women have had, everybody's always had that one rough season. So I hate to see her rough season be the end of her. But I will leave it on this note saying that, you know, coming to the realization that we're not going to have Bluestone Manor anymore and we're not going to have the Berkshires. I do believe it would be beneficial for Roni to start filming in the summer again and start going back to the Hamptons. Especially if you are not going to have the Berkshires, I think you have to go back to the Hamptons because we saw it for the first time this season in a really long time. And I loved it. Like when the girls got drunk at Ramona's house, like when they went to that weird, creepy.
But don't try to do Halloween or Christmas elsewhere. Don't try to pull that shit
kind of like if you don't live that world, it's kind of like this mythical thing you hear about, and you like want to know like the ins and outs of that life, and like I feel like they should show it again.
Yeah, I agree. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. Just like it's funny. We've been talking about this for like 10 minutes now, and it's just like you think. We could probably do a whole hour-long episode on Dorinda. And it just truly sucks that this is happening. I'm so upset. Like I'm trying not to get emotional right now.
Can I say my favorite Dorinda moment?
Absolutely.
Thinking about it because, you know, I would say my favorite Dorinda moment was when Caitlin and I went to BravoCon and we did not get to meet her face to face. But she was inside the store we were trying to get in, and Caitlin was dressed at her with a Dorinda wig on, looked like Dorinda, and we were knocking on the window, and Dorinda made eye contact with Caitlin and I, and she looked at Caitlin. She said, "Mouth, that's me, and she's pointing at Caitlin. That was
I'm literally gonna cry right now
in my memory because it was too good. I love Dorinda. I think we got to cheers to her to always making it nice. I'm not wealthy, but you know, we wish you the best in your next endeavors.
You always made it nice. We're clearly not well-being moving into the future without you, but thank you for all the memories. Thank you for saying that I looked like you. That was such a compliment. I have long brown hair, but for that day I was a short blonde just for you. So
absolutely. Cheers
to you. We love you, D. For those listening on the podcast, that long silence was us chugging our wine because we are super upset right now. Well, there be some more.
Let's get into a lighter note. Let's get into our game. I kind of love, as much as I hate when we're in the off season for football, I kind of love on the show when we're leading up to the season because we start giving you all of our predictions, whether it's fantasy football, whether it's what we think for the season, potential Super Bowl winners. Tonight we're giving our 2020 NFL season award goes to, that's the game we are playing. So just like this time last year, we are giving our early predictions for each major NFL award. We have MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year. I didn't think this was too challenging, or maybe I didn't challenge myself enough to think outside the box.
I tried to, but I agree with you.
Yeah. So, and we did ask you on Instagram your thoughts on this first one. We're going to go.
Oh, I did get to, yeah.
Definitely got a sprinkling of answers there, but why don't you start and say what your answer is? Who are you giving the early award for MVP for the 2020 season?
So I think it's so obviously if you're listening and you are a football fan, you do understand these awards are very much like high school superlatives. You're the popular kid in the bunch. If this came down to stats, I mean, we gave you stats earlier in the year, Daniel Jones compared to Kyler Murray. And guess what? Daniel Jones was neck and neck. He could, if it wasn't a popularity contest, he would have won that. So people need to understand that too. But I'm just going with based off how I feel like the season will play out. And this guy's just made some big money. So it makes sense. I'm going with Mr. Patrick Mahomes here.
I'm going with Patrick Mahomes as well. I had mentioned it last week on the show when we gave fantasy football rankings. We talked about each position and quarterbacks. I put Patrick Mahomes ahead of Lamar Jackson, and I had said I think that's going to be a two-person race potentially for MVP. I just get a little scared as much as Lamar Jackson runs if he will stay healthy for 16 games, and I just think that Chiefs team that's a powerhouse offense, and I think this is going to be another really great year for Patrick Mahomes. I do feel it's just a safe pick. It's not a sexy I could see that. No, this is just a legitimate safe Vegas pick.
Vegas, baby. I also did get a Patrick Mahomes comment on my Insta, and then your husband said Mr. Drew Brees.
Really? Because my husband went on mine and said Mr. Christian McCaffrey.
Well, someone is not telling the truth for some of us right here.
Oh, boy. I mean, here he comes.
Mr. Gagliardi.
But I got Patrick Mahomes. I got Lamar Jackson. I got Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Those were definitely the top ones there.
Yeah.
All right. Offensive Player of the Year. Who do you have?
So I'm gonna go with. So it's funny. So a couple of these I have two first because it's I have two case scenarios for it. So my first case scenario is yes, it's the basic case scenario because Patrick Mahomes is going to win MVP and he's also going to win offense because
happens. I hate when they do that though. I know they don't do.
But if they don't do it, which I agree, they should not do it. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Michael Thomas.
Ooh, I like that one. Okay, all right.
Ooh.
I'm going with who some might and have argued already today that he could potentially be an MVP. I just think the quarterback position gets held at a different standard. So I am going to go with someone who will slightly miss out on the MVP votes, but get this one in Panthers running back Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean, good. Listen,
kid's
solid kid.
No offense to you. I know you love him, Teddy Bridgewater, but to me, he's not your quarterback should be the star of your offense. And on this team, Christian is the star of the offense. Yeah. That team is Christian McCaffrey's, and he's going to take that team and put them on his back. And whatever they end up doing this season is going to be because of him.
All right. I agree with that. Hey, listen, I love Teddy, but he's entering a new team as a starter. Let's see how it goes.
Yes. Okay. Defensive Player of the Year. I think there's, sometimes these aren't as obvious, the defensive guys. Yeah. Who did you put?
So I'm going to go with Aaron Donald. I do know that Nick Bosa obviously did get, rookie defensive player of the year as he should have last year. And I do think he is going to mold into a phenomenal defensive player. But it's interesting. Actually, after watching Hard Knocks, I can see how just more mature Aaron Donald is in his position and how much knowledge and everything he has. And I'm not taking anything against Nick Bosa because I think he can be definitely much to a runner-up here, or actually win. But to me, I just feel more confident in Aaron Donald winning a award like this.
Listen, at the end of the day, I don't think anybody would necessarily argue the fact that Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in the NFL right now. But I am
monster.
Who?
I said, kid's a monster.
Oh, I thought you said someone's name. I'm going with the 49ers defensive end, Mr. Nick Bosa, the youngin, going into a sophomore season.
Boyfriend, Nick Bosa?
Yes, your boyfriend, Nick Bosa.
Funny enough, we're announcing on the show tonight that Nick Bosa is my boyfriend because I love him.
He was NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year last year, but I literally have to say I could have made a massive argument for the fact that as a rookie, he could have just straight up won Defensive Player of the Year last year.
And I think we did. I think we both of us. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, we've said it on the show, so I think he's going to follow that up, playing for one of the best, a top 3 defense in the league. I think the kid's going to shine again, just, 1 year under his belt already, and he's going to be a star for years to come. And I think he's going to get this one.
Yeah.
All right. Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think we have a couple of candidates for this.
We definitely do. And I did kind of put it to scenario 1 behind this one as well. There's only one more 2 scenario, I promise. But given that, again, this is a popularity contest and a contest that gears towards like main positions, like the quarterback position. So if the season does pan out well for this kid, I'm going to go with Mr. Joe Burrow for the QB of the Cincinnati Bengals. And then alternatively, if we do not want to give it to a quarterback, which I feel like we shouldn't always just toss it into the quarterback's ring, I'm going to go with Jerry Jeudy. He is a wide receiver out of Alabama on the Denver Broncos. And we've been talking about this week over week. You know, listen, Drew Lock is a sleeper for a lot of people for the quarterback position in fantasy. The Broncos in general, I know you're in favor of them and what they're doing, what they're coming up. And Jerry Jeudy is insanely talented. I'm not saying that he's going to be the end all be all, but if you match him with a kid like Drew Lock that a lot of people see potential with, he could have a really outstanding rookie year at the offensive position. So
super excited to see the wide receiver class play this year. I'm kind of bummed that they're not getting the full experience of full camp, full preseason, because I think it would have really benefited not just them, but obviously all the rookies. And I would like to see the full potential of these wide receivers, because they're going to be animals. And there's so many of them that I feel like if I was playing fantasy football, I'd probably roll the dice on one of them. And see who pans out. And it could be all of them. I ended up going with a running back. Again, these are geared mainly towards quarterbacks.
Yeah, I know.
Joe Burrow is going to be a stud, but he plays on, not the best team. They're still going to struggle, I think.
Oh, Kyler Murray didn't play for the best team, and he's still.
I know, which is why. But I came on here and I was adamant about the fact that he stole it from running back Josh Jacobs. So I would like to not see it happen again. I'm going with, I've talked about him several times already, Colts running back Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
He's going to be the workhorse for them. I actually think my second pick would probably be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he's going to be a beast too. I think ESPN right now for fantasy football rankings have him at like number 7. So the expectations are super high for some of these young guys, the receivers and the running backs. And I think that more so, I could get on board with even Jeudy or Henry Ruggs.
Yeah.
One of these guys winning it over a quarterback like Joe Burrow.
Well, word on the street is that if you can get that kid in the second round, you go after him in fantasy.
Yeah.
So he's on my list. After I heard that, I was like, he is on my list. If he's available in the second round, I'm going after him. So.
Get your antennas up, people. We're, giving little fantasy hints here and there. All right. Defensive Rookie of the Year. Who's your pick?
Again, too, like obviously a wide receiver, it's an interesting class to look at, but you do have to look at our, rookie defensive class too. It's very impressive. I think initially a lot of people's eyes go to Chase Young, but you do need to understand, he actually is nursing an injury and he thinks it is setting back where he is right now. So I'm actually going to go more towards Isaiah Simmons, who played for Clemson. So as much as I don't like you to play for Clemson, but I am just going to going to toss it in there.
I think that's a good argument against why it could not be Chase Young. Yeah. I picked Chase Young because, again, I felt like it was like that safe, like the safest pick that there is.
It's safe, but if you're hurting already and you haven't even played a game yet, it's kind of.
But I want to just light devil's advocate in saying that, however many moons ago that it was that Odell Beckham Jr. missed the first 4 games of his rookie season and ended up winning Offensive Rookie of the Year because he was a powerhouse. And that's what Chase Young is going to be, especially for a Washington football team that, there's not going to be many bright spots. That kid's going to be the bright spot for that team. And
I agree.
And give him this award.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
All right, comeback player of the year. You always have to do your research on this one just to remind yourself of who was hurt, who maybe was retired and came back. Who are you going with?
So this is my final, 2-case scenario of the evening because I picked the first one because I think it was the most attractive pick of someone who was maybe retired and came back. But my second alternative is just kind of what I've been noticing in camp and watching and understanding that organization. So my first initial thought was Gronk. Okay. So if he plays well in Tampa, I think people are just up in arms, going to be like, great, he came back, comeback player of the year. My second one, and it might be an interesting one, but this kind of like counteracts your get it off your chest last week. I think if Alex Smith plays for the Washington football team and does any type of success for them, he will be the comeback player of the year.
I mean, Alex Smith just still being on an NFL roster, he could win the award.
Is a comeback. I know.
The field, right?
But when the
NFL might do that.
I know, but I was thinking it more so that I sincerely think that Dwayne Haskins is trash and he's not going to make it past 2 games. And they're going to, and Washington, they ruined RG3, so they're probably just going to toss Alex Smith in there and be like, sure, let's see what you got. And maybe he might have it. He does have it. He is talented, but he also almost died.
I could see the NFL awards or the SB awards or somebody honoring Alex Smith, even if he never starts a game this season.
Throw away the honoring, though. If he does play a couple games this season and is super successful, they're going to give this award to him.
I really love how we started off this segment, and you made a really good comment that I hadn't thought of. It kind of is like high school superlatives. It is sometimes
a popularity contest,
which is why because this is exactly how I wanted to explain it too. I think if this guy comes in and he even just has average stats across the board, they will give this to tight end Rob Gronkowski.
Yep.
I think if he just has an
it's a no-brainer.
It's a popularity contest, and I think
he came back from retirement. He's going to a team where his quarterback went to. Like it's a whole story. It's not just a let's look at the stats or a little blimp that he kind of came back from an injury. No, it's a huge storyline. It's that's what these are. It's how much can we put into this for him winning it? So.
Right. Okay. My husband wanted to say that his defensive rookie of the year is linebacker Patrick Queen. He came out of LSU. I don't know who he's playing for. Ravens. Yeah. Okay, the Baltimore Ravens. He was definitely when he was drafted, people were he was drafted later in the first round. People were look for this kid. This is kind of a steal for a team that's already potentially could be a Super Bowl champion, getting a steal at the end of the first round.
I think we actually spoke about that, to be honest, with our 1 or 2 episodes after the draft. So, that's interesting. Good one, Frank.
Yeah. All right, and let's end on Coach of the Year. I always like this one because I think there's so many names that get thrown into the mix. And there's certainly several ways you can look at it. Is somebody facing adversity? Do they maybe not have a great quarterback, but they were able to win with them? You know what I mean? You have to think about hurdles that they overcome, things like that. Who do you have?
Come on, I'm looking at this from a superlative standpoint. I'm just going to go with Mr. Andy Reid on this one. If the Kansas City Chiefs do everything that they expect them to do, win another Super Bowl, he's your Coach of the Year.
And listen, I was just saying what I was saying, but again, sometimes it literally just is who has the most success, who wins the most football games. Yeah. And I'm, again, for somebody who I felt didn't get enough credit for years and years and years and years and years, I'm glad to see that Andy Reid finally won a Super Bowl and is finally getting recognition. So I think
finally,
if the Chiefs can be super successful again this year, I'm all for him winning that award. I am going with somebody who was not in football last year. Again, one of those stories.
Joe Judge.
This team just ends up panning out to be what people are wondering if they'll be. I'm going with Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach Bruce Arians. I love Bruce Arians. I think he should have never been out of football.
I agree.
I always really, really liked him. And I do believe that he is one of the best coaches in the NFL.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are our award predictions. Mm-hmm. And again, maybe we'll have some more from you right before the season starts. Maybe give some Super Bowl picks potentially. We'll see. We'll see.
Alrighty, well, it is that time of the night where we get it off our chest. Positive, negative, football, housewives, life, wine, quarantine, anything. I don't know. Why don't you go ahead and get us started?
I'll keep it super short and simple. Obviously, each NFL team has been left to make the decision of what they want to do with their fans. I guess more so the Senators and, or I'm not sorry, the Senators, the governors, Governor Murphy, shot the the Senators. The governors, like Governor Murphy, shutting down MetLife Stadium, saying that the Jets and Giants weren't going to have fans. I just think it should have been the NFL's job to say across the board this year, as of right now, maybe things could potentially change in the future. We are not having fans in any of the 32
That's how all the other sports are doing it.
Any of the other stadiums this year, because of the fact that I feel some of these teams who are saying, oh, we're having fans, we're just doing 25% capacity. That to me is an unfair advantage if a team could have even one or two fans in the stands. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't feel that it's fair. And I just wish it would have been a thing that the NFL would have decided for all 32 teams to say, hey guys, and look at it the way I'm looking at it. That's an unfair advantage. Things are bad right now.
Well, it's also kind of a liability, don't you think?
Let's just all be super safe and just say that there's, as of right now, indefinitely, there are no fans in the stands.
Well, it's also a liability, because I think like recently it came out that like Miami is like having like all their fans there, and like Florida's like a huge.
To me, I don't know if that's true or not, but Florida's like the worst state right now.
I could have sworn I saw that somewhere, and like that was a comment I made. Like, someone can fact check me; I could be completely wrong, but you're right. It's absolutely one of the worst states. So if a team is traveling to Miami to play, and you have all these fans in the stadium,
I think it's, and I'm sure that they will do a way of like, okay, the players are not going to be their exits, wherever they come in, go out, whatever. They're not going to cross paths with those people, but you have to think about the people who are working at the stadium.
Yeah, it's not just the players.
The fans amongst the fans.
Yeah.
I'm not
much risk.
I'm not for it.
Yeah, I agree. You gotta like, it's just,
I think the NFL has been, handling COVID well. And again, we had that positive news about, no positive tests. And that's been great. I just wish they had taken this extra step to say, hey guys, like, this isn't, based on what your governor or what your state is doing or anything like that. This is what the NFL is doing across the board.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's it.
No, it was a good one. So mine's like super simple, and it's definitely positive. I just feel like, and like maybe, I don't know, like, I don't really know. Maybe it's because like we just like, opened up our Twitter and like our YouTube account and like are trying new things, but it's like, we have just had like so much support like over the past, like over like 2 years. Like, it's insane. And I think it just keeps getting like
3 years.
bigger. I know. And it just keeps getting bigger. And I sincerely want to like shout out like our fans on Twitter, because for a while it was me basically tweeting on behalf of the both of us, so like sending things out and doing all that stuff. And now that we opened our Twitter account, so many of the followers that I have on my page have come over there. It's not like, it doesn't seem like a chore to them, but they're engaging with our stuff. They're sending our stuff out. We're being asked to go on more podcasts. Like, it's just the support, just like to me, like, people are sharing our stuff to their pages. Like, it's getting like so much bigger, like day to day. And it's like, at the end of the day, like, this is fun for us. Like, this is a hobby. Like, we get to sit down as best friends, drink wine, and talk about two things that we love the most in life, football and housewives. And people feed into it. People love it. Like, I look at like our podcast like every day and like look at our stats and like look at our analytics, and like it's going up, and people are subscribing and listening and stuff like that. And it's amazing. Like, it's just like, I don't know. It's like a positive thing that I'm trying to say right now, but it's like, I truly love the support, and it's something that means so much to me. So like, when I go out and someone asks me like what I do for fun, or like what do I do? Like, I obviously tell them about my family, my career, things like that. But then this is something that's huge that I tell people. And you can tell instantly when I tell someone when they're uninterested, I'm like, okay, well, like, this means so much to me. Like, but when people do play into it and they are interested and they give us so much support, like, I love that. Yeah. Like,
absolutely.
We spend so much time doing this. Like, as much as this is a fun thing, like, there is a lot of time and effort that's put into it. But I truly love the support. Like, I love you guys. Like, I know we're live right now. So like, anyone watching, like, we truly do love you. Anyone listening, like, we love you. We love the support. And like, this is just us coming. This is real. Like, we come to you every week. Like, this is the real deal. We call ourselves the real football fans. We are the real football fans in New Jersey.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys all so much. Exactly what she said. We thank you for the support. We thank you for the love, and we'll keep doing this, as long as we're still having fun with it and enjoying it. Because at the end of the day, that's what's more important. But having your additional support, the subscribers, the likes, the comments, that's all just cherries on top. You know what I mean? So
truly. Yeah.
Thank you all. And as far as things that you want to be watching this week on television, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, it is on tonight at 9. We have finished up in time for you to catch that.
It's the season finale.
Ooh, Real Housewives of New York on tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We're definitely getting towards the end of that season as well. We have Real Housewives of Potomac on Sunday at 9. HBO Hard Knocks, it is on Tuesday at 10. Yesterday was the 3rd episode. Again, if you ever miss it, if that's too late for you on a weeknight, you can catch it on demand. I am
like Caitlin.
And the NFL season opener, the Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs, that is just 15 days away. So basically 2 weeks. I can't believe it. Caitlin's frozen, but she's frozen on a laugh. So thank you guys. It's been awesome. And we'll catch you next week. Cheers. Good night.